Call to order at 5:40. And we have with us. Is that Ira?
That's Ira, yeah.
Ira, can you hear us?
I think he was talking on the phone and now he's muted.
Oh, not to us.
No.
Oh. I'm confused. I'm like, is he the only person we have online?
Yeah, he's the only panelist and then Marcus is an attendee.
Oh, hi, Marcus. All right, so that's great. So why don't we move on to first order of business, which is minutes. So can I have a motion to approve the attached minutes from the September 8th, 2021 meeting? Motion. Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, unanimously approved. And we'll go right into our updates. Very first is item C, which is website updates. So Devin, Kat, I don't know if there's anything in addition we need to know about what's going on with the website.
Yes. Let me log in. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
So basically we have a press release that's on today's agenda. And these edits to the website mirror what's the content of that press release. I know my password. So the main part about the press release that we'll see is it covers our full professional partner team now that we have O&G on board. It's an announcement as to where we are in the status and kind of a little bit of what everybody's role is. So we thought it was important to update one of the pages on the website. Let me just make sure that my screen is being shared for everyone. Okay. So we had the building committee members listed before, and now it includes not only the building committee members, the subcommittee members, but our professional partners.
Perfect. I think that's great.
And gives a little bit of an overview for all of the professional partners.
I think that's great. It's a good representation of everything, which is kind of what we've been doing. So
Another update that will be happening as soon as we approve the press release today, and that is sent out to the press. On the main page of the website, it'll say, you know, we've welcomed O&G. It'll direct them to learn more about our professional partners and have a link to the press release.
okay, great.
So that's really the update for the web.
Kat, this is Ira. Can you hear me? Kat,
Yes, we can hear you.
what you might want to put on there too, are you still collecting emails if people want to have regular updates?
Yes, that's on the main page of the website. They still have that form to be able to
Okay.
connect.
Yeah, we might want to put a note that, you know, if you want to still be informed that an update's on the website or whatever, you know, being all that transparency, I assume you have an email list already, just sign up, you know, so put a little kind of note on top of it. Now that, you know, now we're post referendum, we still want to keep you informed. And if you want to know when there's changes going on, you want to go to the website, well, you know, you can do that kind of auto. That's, I would suggest that.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a fair thing to make sure we give people an opportunity to give feedback and continue that engagement.
Yeah, and I think it's, you know, we also have to keep being clear that you still go through us.
Yes,
This is a lot of people, but we're your main source of point of contact for building specific things. And obviously, there's, you know, other people they would reach out to in different capacities, but if you've got, you know, start with us as the building committee, and then we can certainly work through our partners or members, whoever, to get answers for people.
exactly.
Yeah.
And part of the reason is we want to show how many people are involved in this project. It's a big, it's, you know, the owner's rep, and we always talk about them, but what do they do?
Right.
What does the architect, what is their role? Now that we have construction manager, there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of people involved in this size project. So it's important to show the entire team and not just the building committee.
Yep. I think that makes a lot of sense.
I assume these are links to their websites?
This hasn't gone live yet. Oh, yes, these are linked. So if you click on TSKP Studio or CSG, it'll bring them right to their website. So that people can see, okay, here's an example of a project we've done before, or dig a little bit deeper about them.
Looks good.
Anything else that we can think of? I can't think of anything right at the moment that we need to highlight beyond once we go into the press release. I think what people are gonna be starting to think more about is timing.
Exactly. This was just
And like a timeline of some sort, but I still think bringing ONG on, I think is gonna help refine that. It's been, I know that's the first quarter of business, so maybe we give it a little bit more time and kind of see where they fall. I don't know. We can talk about it.
on the main page of the website right now is a brief update that we will be again updating is because it says we're going to bring on a construction manager soon. But now that we have, that will be updated, but it does contain that preliminary
Okay.
timeline,
All right.
which I think gives people enough information as in
Yeah.
over the next year, we're still a long way before the actual construction begins. So I think leaving this for now until we can dig deeper into that milestone schedule,
Yeah.
will still give at least some context.
And I'm thinking milestone schedule will be, this might be enough probably for the majority of people to say high level, but hey, if you want to know more,
Here it is.
here it is.
Yeah.
The big question is.
Hi, everyone. Just a thing to think about, this might be for also the newsletter, is that I know we don't want to get in the weeds too much, but having the process, like you have almost 10, 11 months that are almost like quiet, where there's a lot of behind the scenes work. It might be good to have exactly where they are. I know there's various committees the Board of Ed is doing, and that Kathy's probably working on for coming up with programming for each of the spaces. I think we kind of think about like when we did the referendum, that this is a great education moment to explain people how these building projects evolve. And so it's kind of, I wouldn't say it a brain dump, but at certain points, once a month, once or ever, where the architect is, certain things that you can put in and talk about process. I know I put that in my original notes about that people at the end of the day, so you don't have to go back repeating, oh, here's where we are. Oh, I thought you had all these plans done. So it minimizes the noise and that people can find things. Even if it's just, we've arrived at all the programming for all the spaces, even if the design's not done, those kinds of things. Just something for you to think about. So it keeps people engaged. It's still the biggest project Farmington ever did. So anything that, adds not just to the transparency, but to the education side, I think would benefit you folks.
I think Meg does a chart that kind of outlines, and she'll do it at the next meeting at her chair report, but maybe we should do a better job of highlighting that chart. It explains step by step what needs to be done in where we are to building the new building, and we have a little tab that keeps moving saying we are here as we check off the things we've completed. So we're doing just that, Ira. I just don't think we're publicizing it as much as we could.
Oh, no, I don't think we have to do it right now. I think it's all planning. The biggest problem I've seen in doing these projects is explaining to the residents how much the state of Connecticut and regulations control these design of these buildings. Is that you have so much compliance stuff you have to deal with, and that they think, you hire the architect, the town has all this control and so forth. And when it gets right down to all the program that's being done in these spaces, at the end of the day, the state of Connecticut has to approve all this. And so therefore, I find when things crop up, when I've done these projects, I think given what you're doing here at the high school, it wouldn't hurt to explain in a little more detail how the state is engaged in approval processes here. Meg, are you thinking of that?
Yeah, I think, it does come out, I agree with you, even like when we're having conversations that with faculty, like there's limitations, right, for things that you can do. There's a certain size this school has to be. It can't be as big as we want it to be. There's reasons why we have to do things a certain way. So we can probably start thinking about even maybe in the newsletter, doing some education around that, or at the highest level, for people to really start understanding how that piece integrates in the conversation.
It pretty much is where we're going, the footprint's the footprint.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we make adjustments in that space.
Yeah.
But it's not going this way.
That, yeah, that this is it, the square footage is the square footage.
Well, it does two things. It reassures that you guys know what you're doing. And it also puts in that each step of the way, from putting in, a doorknob to a window to flooring, everything you're doing is a lot of control by regulation, and that the design elements you're trying to add to it have to work with these kind of, rules and regulations. And so that, again, is part of that education process. Because people don't understand that, this is 3 or 4 year project, and is always say, why is it taking so long?
I don't know, Kat, where are we with that? Have we back up?
Not everything is back up. We've kind of been doing it slowly again because we had to leave as much as possible from when it was the blackout. I think we should revisit the Q&A because I'm not sure all of them need to be worded the same or should be updated. So maybe on our next agenda, we can update that to bring it back up.
It's also could be a working Q&A, so hear things,
Yeah.
add it, and I know sometimes that's a good way, to, get information out to the community, especially if we're hearing it. And it's kind of like a working document. I always think that works good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do know, Ira, on the newsletter we're intending to send out around November timeframe, some sort of a Q&A area, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, yeah. It's just, we should think about, put yourself as a resident. They're all excited to approve this thing. What do they need to know right now and for the near future? It's probably the better way to think about it. Like what's actually going on now during, I wouldn't say this quiet period, but there's no construction going on. There's nothing really on the site you can really look at other than obviously putting a sign up. But in terms of, where you are and what you're doing, the Q&A would probably be a good way to look at it.
All right, so it sounds like we have an agenda item for next meeting. which is
Yes.
good.
And I would say, while we're just briefly talking about the next meeting, I would say that we want to include a draft of the newsletter to go out, because I think our initial timeframe per the proposal was around Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So if you see, we're trying to cancel the next meeting,
Yeah.
but our first November meeting, I think we could do the Q&A and the newsletter, and we're in good shape.
I think that makes sense for timing, and that gives us, because it's time to start building content. So if there's something you guys think of, for the first newsletter that you think might be something you especially, you guys might be hearing now, or things that might be coming up, in conversations, let us know, or keep a quick list, and then we can include those things as we have the conversation. Because it might be good for us to really think about, there's community engagement on a lot of levels right now. There's probably a lot of questions getting asked. So I think everybody's got to keep that hat on. What am I hearing? What are people thinking?
And I think for council too.
Correct, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Hear from the public.
Yeah, so maybe that's something we can do too, is we can get back to Chris, and there's nothing to do tonight, but just say, hey, if there's a way you can make sure that the staff to say, and then obviously that's what you say, you're out there, eyes and ears, people are contacting that group as well beyond us.
Mhm.
Okay, great. All right, so why don't we then go right into new business? So first item is to review and draft press release providing an update on the FHS building project. So we do have a copy of the press release here that Ira drafted for us. Before I hand it over to him, the point here was really for us to highlight a lot of the things that Kat just said. So let's see if we can get some sort of coverage out there on the project, making sure people know that we are moving forward, that we have brought on an additional professional partner in ONG, and kind of get some exposure around that, and then we added some additional information around that. So Ira, do you want to kind of walk us through a little bit?
No, I mean, you know, I when we drafted it, we just want to come, you know, here's where we are. So we start with the passing a referendum, you know, what we're planning to do, a quote from you, Meg, about what, you know, reminding people again. I see you put the timeline in, looks fine. And I think the only thing I'm thinking of again, do we need to list all the building committee members again? I mean, of all the, I mean, we don't want to list everybody, but it wouldn't hurt getting a news release out saying here's still there. I assume there hasn't been any change, Meg, to the building committee.
Maybe, Ira, what we do, where there is a bullet point for building committee, but maybe we can say, you know, like the building committee is comprised of residents, you know, town officials, professional partners, school administration, you know, like give a brief overview, and we can always link it to that team page we have on the website.
Well, you know, or you can just link it. If there's if Devin has on the website, a link is fine.
Okay.
That'd be fine doing it, but it doesn't hurt to just remind people it's made up of citizens who are volunteering.
I do kind of agree with Ira whenever I read articles, especially newspapers and stuff, and I like to read the names of exactly who in town is involved. And I don't know, and it does give that perspective of, oh, I know so-and-so, that's a neighbor, or I know so-and-so, that's someone else's dad, or, so I do agree with that. I feel like that will allow community members, and plus, I mean, people are moving in and out of Farmington and changing, so even if someone was following 2 years ago, maybe someone just moved in this summer, that would be an opportunity for them to like see who's on it.
Well, I mean, I estimated that you're going to probably have, at the end of the day, including, you know, the professional team, you're going to have over 100 to 200 people somehow engaged in this project. From the contractors to subcontractors, it can even be higher. And letting people know, managing all that stuff, and letting them know that there's a lot of moving parts. Again, it's part of the education process. Again, I just talk from experience where the nonsense stuff comes out, you know, what about that? What about this? And once you know it beforehand, we can just present where we are and who's doing what. It usually eliminates a lot of that stuff because you're just keeping people informed. So at the end of the day, I mean, it's almost like it's running like a small business, actually a medium-sized business, if you kind of look at it that way. So any of the links along the way to people who are part of it. That's why I mentioned to Kat about a little more extensive background of the professional team. And that all can be on the website too, and talking about, you know, basically post up a short resume of each of these companies. Wouldn't hurt. So it shows that you guys chose the best professionals that are out in the marketplace to do this project. Because I don't think they've been paying it. I don't think the referendum led up to community engagement, but I don't think people know these players.
That's a good suggestion, Ira. It just popped into my head that on the website where we have each of them listed, maybe I just do something like past projects include, and do
Right.
like at least some sort of summary of some bigger projects that are applicable to the high school project, so people can see and check those out.
Can we get them to do it?
Yeah, I think, you know, getting some resume stuff wouldn't hurt here either. You know, on the website, we don't need to put it extensively in a newsletter, but you know, I think at the end of the day, the strategy is driving as many people to the website as possible and using that as your kind of your newspaper. So therefore, we don't always whatever is being updated, and those decisions can be made by the building committee when a decision is being made, Meg, that then you post up new information. Here's an update, which will be on the home page. But right now, the website just needs to be updated with just basic information right now about who's everyone involved, where we are, the timeline again, those kinds of things.
Where's this gonna be published?
We have a list of press contacts, so we send it to like my contact at the Hartford Current, the Farmington Press, Farmington Valley Press, and they either pick it up or they don't. We will also post it on the building committee website so it is accessible. But the press release, like, just because we're putting this out doesn't mean a story is going to happen about it. It's up to them if they're gonna, maybe they'll do an update, because we did get some good press coverage leading up to the referendum.
Yeah, I mean, you got local 3 medias out there. I don't think TV is going to cover this because it's more or less an update. It's an article. The other thing I suggest, send this to the PTOs. Send it to, the interest groups that have been involved with the project. So there, it wouldn't hurt to send to them. Also, Kat?
That's a good idea.
So I might have a minor suggestion, I don't know, when just kind of looking at this, and I know it's listing all the facts, are we allowed to maybe put something at the end instead of just the bullet points of maybe someone else quoting something positive about it moving forward? I just feel like reading this is just facts, but, and I'm just looking for a little closure.
You saw the quote from Meg
I
at the
did,
beginning, so you're thinking like a wrap up
yeah, like someone at, like a quote at the end, or maybe move Meg's to the
to
end.
the end.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't end abruptly.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, we could move Meg's quote to the end if you like. I don't know who else we want to quote.
Like basic, I've never seen.
Or get, maybe another quote, like get Scott or someone who's like in the school, or, yeah. So there's
Because
someone-
what you want to avoid on a press release is redundancy. We already said it's going to be on the website. We want to keep you informed, everything like that. The only thing I could see doing, if you like to do that, Meg, the quote at the end would be fine to switch it.
Yeah, I think they're gonna pick and choose whatever they want out of it anyway.
Oh,
They don't publish this as is. They'll
Yeah,
take it
they'll,
and
like,
write
take-
their own.
Sometimes too, maybe they'll call, they might contact Kat or someone if they're looking for additional too, that could happen.
Like a picture, like if they wanted something, or,
Yeah,
those kind of things.
Depends on space that day that they're gonna run it.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, a good suggestion. I think it does end abruptly, so if we're looking for, we can just move that around.
Or maybe, like I was saying, getting someone who is in the school, at Farmington High School, a teacher, principal, or student, just someone who, not that I'm
You
saying.
can see
you're
that
but-
excitement.
Yeah.
So the improvement to educators' potential for.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, if you want to do that, I don't think this press release is really at that point. I think this is just the facts and where we are and drawing it. I know what you're doing, but we can get quotes later on from people to do it, but to put some sort of other one, that's why I put the quote in with Meg. It kind of wraps everything together here, because it explains what the building committee does, which is really the point of the press release, to be quite honest.
there'll be an opportunity later too, which I know we will.
But it's your choice. I mean, that's, again, the only thing, to repeat myself, is that you could move the quote at the end, and that would we call sandwiching the press release. And that's your call. It'll work either way.
Everybody okay with that?
I like that idea.
First, you're okay with your CSG stuff?
And it's accurate.
The other thing, if the Current picks this up or the local media, they might want to get their own quote, Meg.
Yeah.
That's fine.
All right, so we're good. My intent would be to get this out tomorrow, send it to our press contacts, post it on our building committee website. We can post it on our Facebook page, Twitter, all of that, just so at least people are, if they don't see it in the newspaper or get picked up, we are circulating our press release as well.
Does it go on the town website, Kat? Is there like a repository?
I could probably put it in the news in the town website, and then directly link it over to the building committee website. Yeah, absolutely.
Like a different audience.
Mhm.
All right, anything else or? All right, we don't need to do anything. for the motion, do we?
No, I
That
think-
one
I
just
think
was
we're
kind of
okay.
informal. All right, so the next one, which is our last item for this, we do need a motion, though. So could I have a motion to cancel the October 20th, 2021 communications subcommittee? All right, any discussion on this? We kind of discussed the fact that we'd be going to monthly. I think the communications is fine. We still have building committee. I think we have it scheduled, right?
Well, there's a motion on the agenda tonight to cancel the second building committee meeting also, so we figured there's no point for this group to meet if the larger group is not meeting.
And it sounds like we have we can do some work in between.
Yes,
Great.
I think that would
So,
give us a good amount of time to get the newsletter ready to go for
Right.
approval by the subcommittee and the Q&A.
yeah, so our job, I think, content, even if it's a sentence here, anything you think of, just a quick idea, something that you think, you can send it off to Kat and I, and we can collect those in preparation, and then we'll start brainstorming for the newsletter and Q&A stuff. So, do we have access? Can we get access? Can we see the Q&A? We might not be able to see it online, but can we get like?
Yeah. I can circulate
Okay.
the latest
Just remind us what's out there.
Oh, that's good. So
Yeah.
as it stands now?
Yes,
Yeah.
as it stands right now. Some of it we might wanna, or I don't know, maybe we separate it somehow to say here, here's questions.
See a lot of pre-referendum.
Yeah, like a free
Yeah, there was
referendum
some.
now. I don't know, because there might be people who want the history of. I don't know. I'd have to look at it. I don't
Yeah.
remember it
You could
enough.
maybe do a link for pre-referendum. Use or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there are a lot of specific
Yes,
pre-referendum things based off of what we were hearing, but there still is a lot that's relevant.
Right.
About, you know, what the statement of needs are, why we're doing, you know, all of that is
Yeah.
so applicable.
Yeah, that doesn't just go away.
yeah, some of that, I mean,
Cat, just some house cleaning. Don't post, sorry, I'm not, sorry I couldn't get there. There's no subway stop in Farmington. So, someone who grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and went everywhere by subway. It's just getting west of the river at rush hour. I told Kat, of course, I like to see you guys, and it's last time it took me an hour, so I figured it was better to do this way. I suggest get this to the media before you post it, because they want to get it first. Just wait a day, and then take off the top of the immediate release and the context. Therefore, you can put this on the website just as a statement. Don't post it as a press release, Kat. Just put it as a statement.
Okay.
Just leave the press release information just for the media, and the rest you can keep, but give it a day. So at least, because if they see this on the website, they want to get it first, and they're going to make a decision. So just hold it off a day for doing it, and then just take off, the contact information.
Okay, no problem, thank you.
okay, so.
Sorry for that. Sorry for that delay.
All right, so all in favor of canceling the October 20th meeting? Opposed? All right, unanimously approved. Anything else? Concerns, questions? Thoughts on anything? Yeah.
I'm just on the website, it just says on the top, due to COVID-19, we're meeting online via Zoom. It's just-
Yeah, that probably should be updated.
I was just
Oh.
wondering. I didn't know if we were keeping it there so that they can log in Zoom, but I just noticed that.
I think we'll just update it and say, we conduct hybrid.
Yes, hybrid
meetings,
meetings.
because people are welcome to attend in person, but sometimes it's easier just to hop on the Zoom.
We're always gonna offer the Zoom option, right?
Yes.
That was, we heard that loud and clear from people that, no, we haven't seen a whole lot of people attend really, but it's fine. I think as we kind of get closer, as things ramp up,
Yeah.
you know, it was a really good source of information for people.
Yeah, it's a mechanism where people can participate, or at least stay up to
Yeah.
date on what's going on and not
The
physically.
Facebook meetings still get, the Facebook
Yeah,
Live
we get some
meetings
good-
are still pretty significant that people,
Yeah.
I just imagine somebody like popping it on your dinner or, you know what I mean, like you're doing something and that's in the background.
It helps Devin with the minutes too.
Yeah,
We can just-
exactly, yeah,
Yeah, go back and watch it.
yep. This is unrelated before we close this out, kind of, but on the website, do we stream the, social media updates? on
We
this
only
page?
have links to it. We don't have like a feed where
Yeah.
we don't have that. There's an, we could probably add that.
The only reason why I'm thinking it is,
Yeah, we did at one point.
I hear from a lot of people, believe it or not, that the chair reports, especially now, are important or valuable to them. So it's just that few bullet points, kudos to you. Evan, that's that, it's awful. But instead of adding it somewhere, maybe if we just add,
Yeah,
we stream it, it might be easier. I don't know what's easier, but I
no,
know
I'm
people
just
like
thinking
those
like
people.
maybe our Twitter.
Yeah.
And Facebook, anytime Devin publishes a chair report, it automatically gets pushed to those two forums. So maybe just one of them.
Exactly, yeah.
It accesses the link rather than, I don't know if we can, we'll look into MailChimp, but there might be a way for us to directly link to the chair reports. But we'll figure it out, but that's a great
Yeah,
suggestion.
I'm just thinking it's one less step in the process if it automatically just doing the feed. And then people at least have that if they. I don't know, see if that makes it super hard.
I think we
I
can do
think
that.
them together was better.
Correct, yeah.
And I'd say pick one that, you might have one that you want to drive people to more than the other. I don't know if that's the case, but. or-
I think that Facebook is probably a little bit more, only because the Zoom does stream there.
Right. And
Whereas
the about, and you have, there's more to it.
there's more to it.
All right. I think that's everything, right? All good? All right, so could I get a motion to adjourn, please? Motion. Second. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? We'll adjourn at 6:13. Thank you very much, everybody. Great meeting.